Ladies and gentlemen, imagine this for a moment. Every challenge you've ever faced, every moment that pushed you to your breaking point, wasn't actually testing your strength. It was testing your mind. Not your speed, not your talent, your mind. And what if I told you the most powerful weapon you'll ever carry isn't force, ego, or hustle, but the ability to stay calm when everything around you is falling apart? Because the person who can stay centered in chaos isn't just surviving. They're winning long before the world realizes it. Let me show you why. Here is your 600-word motivational speech in the style of Simon Sinek, without headings, without mentioning any names, and without ending statements. Your calm mind is the ultimate weapon against your challenges. It sounds simple, almost poetic, but the truth behind it is far from soft. It is one of the greatest competitive advantages a person can build, not because life gets easier, but because clarity gives you an edge that chaos can never provide. Challenges don't destroy us, panic does. Pressure doesn't break us, our reaction to it does. And every single day we're given a choice: react with fear or respond with intention. We live in a world that glorifies speed, move faster, hustle harder, beat the clock. But the people who create extraordinary change aren't the ones who rush, they're the ones who think. They're the ones who pause long enough to understand the moment instead of being consumed by it. A calm mind isn't passive. It's powerful because it allows you to see what others can't. When everyone else is drowning in stress, the calm mind rises above it and says, "Let's understand what's really happening here." Think about the times you've made your worst decisions. Chances are they were made when you were overwhelmed, afraid, or rushed. And think about the times you've made the best ones. There was still stress. There were still obstacles. But somehow you found a moment of stillness, a moment of control, and from that space, you acted with intention. That's the weapon we're talking about, not strength, not aggression, not shouting louder or moving faster. But clarity. Challenges don't disappear when the mind is calm, but what does change is your ability to face them. When the mind is quiet, you stop fighting the problem emotionally and start solving it strategically. You stop allowing fear to dictate your actions and instead let purpose guide them. You stop seeing barriers and start noticing openings you couldn't see before. The calm mind is not born, it is built. It's built through discipline, through choosing not to engage with every distraction, through learning to breathe before you respond, through accepting that you don't need to win every battle instantly, through realizing that not everything requires your energy, your urgency, or your fear, and that realization alone frees up so much mental space that the world begins to feel different. The calm mind becomes a lighthouse in chaos. Others look at you and wonder how you're holding yourself together. They assume you don't feel pressure. They assume you're unaffected. But the truth is, you feel everything, they just don't control you. The calm mind is not about shutting emotions down. It's about guiding them instead of being guided by them. Every challenge you face is asking you a simple question: will you let this situation control you, or will you control yourself within the situation? Most people choose the first option without realizing it. They react instantly, emotionally, defensively. But the people who grow, the people who thrive, the people who rise, those are the ones who pause. That pause is where power is found. That pause is where clarity emerges. That pause is where the calm mind becomes the ultimate weapon. A calm mind allows you to hold yourself to a higher standard, even when everything around you is falling apart. It gives you the ability to stay focused on what matters when the world tries to pull you in 1,000 directions. It lets you see the long game when others are caught in the noise of the moment. And the greatest part is this: the calm mind is available to anyone. It doesn't require talent. It doesn't require a special background. It requires intent, practice, and the decision to not let the world dictate your inner state. Because once you master yourself, the challenges in front of you no longer look impossible. They simply look like steps you haven't taken yet. Here is the continuation, **600 more words, starting exactly where the first part ended, same tone and style, no headings, no names, no ending statements. They simply look like steps you haven't taken yet, and when you begin to see your challenges as steps instead of walls, something incredible happens. You stop resisting the journey. You stop fearing the obstacles. You stop assuming that every inconvenience is a sign that you're failing. Instead, you start to recognize that each challenge is shaping you, sharpening you, preparing you. A calm mind doesn't just face challenges, it transforms them into lessons. Most people don't realize how often they sabotage themselves because they let their emotions outrun their thoughts. They get frustrated before they've even tried. They get overwhelmed by possibilities that haven't happened yet. They start imagining worst-case scenarios and then behave as if those scenarios are already real. But the calm mind approaches the same situations with a completely different lens. It asks what's actually happening right now, and not what you fear, not what you assume, not what someone else might think. What is real right now in this moment? That kind of presence doesn't just improve your performance, it improves your life. It strengthens your relationships because you actually listen instead of reacting. It improves your goals because you choose based on clarity instead of panic. It improves your confidence because you stop treating every challenge as a personal attack and start treating it as a chance to grow. A calm mind shows you that fear is often just noise loud enough to distract you, but never strong enough to define you unless you let it. When you're calm, you start to notice how much energy you used to waste worrying about things that never mattered. You realize how many opportunities you've missed because you were too stressed to see them. You begin to understand that half of your battles weren't with the world, they were with your own thoughts. And once you recognize that, you unlock a level of strength that most people never discover because they're too busy fighting the wrong battles. They fight for control of everything around them, but they never gain control of themselves. They fight circumstances, people, opinions, outcomes, but never the inner voice that demands calm, clarity, and perspective. The calm mind is an anchor. It keeps you grounded when life tries to pull you in every direction. It reminds you that even when situations spiral, you don't have to. It teaches you that chaos outside doesn't have to become chaos within, and once you master that separation, you become someone who can handle pressure without crumbling. Someone who can make decisions without second guessing, someone who doesn't need perfect conditions to move forward. But like any skill, it requires practice. You build it each time you choose not to react instantly, each time you take a breath before speaking, each time you choose to understand before judging, each time you refuse to let someone else's negativity dictate your behavior. These may seem like small moments, but they accumulate, they stack, they create a foundation of strength that becomes unshakable. A calm mind also changes how you interpret setbacks. Instead of seeing them as proof that you're not good enough, you begin to view them as part of the process. You stop personalizing everything. You stop assuming that difficulty means failure. You start realizing that every person who achieved something meaningful had moments where everything felt uncertain. The difference is that they didn't panic, they observed, they learned, they adjusted, and that's the true power of a calm mind. It gives you the patience to outlast your obstacles. It gives you the perspective to see beyond the moment. It gives you the resilience to stand tall even when the outcome is unclear. Calmness is not the absence of challenge, it's the presence of control. When you operate from that state, people feel it. They trust you more, they look to you for direction, not because you have all the answers, but because your presence signals safety in the storm. You become the steady voice in the room, the person others rely on, the one who doesn't crumble under pressure, but becomes sharper because of it. And perhaps the most empowering truth of all is this: a calm mind is contagious. When you remain centered, others begin to match your energy. They become less reactive, less defensive, less chaotic. Your calm becomes leadership without needing a title. Your restraint becomes influence without needing recognition. Your clarity becomes guidance without needing authority. And it all starts from the decision to pause, breathe, and choose clarity over chaos. Here is the *** 600 word continuation ***, starting ***, exactly where the second part ended ***. maintaining the same tone, no headings, no names, no ending statements. Your clarity becomes guidance without needing authority, and as you continue to grow into that version of yourself, something remarkable happens. You begin to trust your own judgment more. Not because you believe you're perfect, but because you've learned to think before you move, to understand before you act, and to ground yourself before you respond. That trust in yourself becomes one of the strongest foundations you'll ever stand on. It allows you to face uncertainty without losing your center. It allows you to navigate conflict without becoming consumed by it. It allows you to approach your goals with intention rather than desperation. A calm mind gives you space to process, space to reflect, space to breathe. In a world where everyone is rushing to react, that space is a superpower. It's where creativity lives, it's where wisdom forms, it's where better choices are made. Most people don't make bad decisions because they lack intelligence, they make them because they lack space. Their minds are flooded with noise, pressure, expectations, deadlines, comparisons, judgments. They're so overwhelmed by external demands that they lose the ability to hear their own voice. But when your mind is calm, that inner voice returns. It becomes clear, steady, reliable. And with that clarity, you start to realize that many of the challenges you feared were not as threatening as you imagined. Most of them were amplified by overthinking. Most of them were intensified by the stories you told yourself, stories of failure, of disappointment, of worst-case possibilities. A calm mind interrupts those stories. It asks you to look at the facts instead of the fears. It asks you to evaluate the situation rather than magnify it. It asks you to choose logic over panic. This is where growth becomes real. Because once you stop reacting emotionally to every challenge, you begin to rise above them. You begin to see the bigger picture. You begin to understand that your value isn't determined by what happens to you, but by how you choose to respond. And when your response comes from clarity rather than chaos, everything changes. You start becoming intentional with your energy. You stop pouring yourself into battles that don't matter. You stop fighting for validation that doesn't serve you. You stop getting pulled into arguments that only drain you. Instead, you reserve your energy for the things that align with your purpose, for the goals that genuinely move you forward, for the relationships that deserve your presence, for the challenges that shape your character. And you begin to notice something else. Calmness improves your discipline. When your mind is clear, distractions lose their power. You stop jumping from one impulse to another. You stop sabotaging your progress with emotional decisions. You stop quitting just because something feels difficult. A calm mind makes you consistent because it removes the emotional turbulence that usually breaks consistency. It keeps you anchored to your long-term vision even when your short-term emotions try to take over. With that consistency, you start building a different kind of confidence, not the loud kind, not the kind that depends on achievements or applause, but a quiet confidence, the kind that comes from knowing you can handle whatever comes your way. The kind that doesn't need to boast because it's rooted in truth, not insecurity. The kind that remains steady even when circumstances are unpredictable, and people feel that shift. They sense when someone is grounded, they sense when someone is centered, they sense when someone isn't easily shaken or manipulated. A calm mind protects you from becoming reactive to other people's behavior. It protects you from taking things personally. It protects you from absorbing negativity that isn't yours to carry. Instead, you begin filtering everything through clarity and intention. You decide what deserves your attention. You decide what deserves your energy. You decide what deserves your response. And in that decision-making power, you reclaim control over your life, not control of the world around you. That will always be unpredictable. But control over yourself, your choices, your focus, your state of mind. That is the ultimate control. That is the ultimate strength. That is the ultimate weapon against every challenge you face. Here is the *** 600, word continuation ***, starting ***, exactly where the third part ended ***, same tone, no headings, no names, no ending statements. That is the ultimate weapon against every challenge. you face, and the more you learn to wield that weapon, the more you realize that calmness is not simply a reaction, it is a strategy. Challenges will always arrive unannounced. Life will always test your patience, your strength, your resolve. But a calm mind doesn't wait for perfect circumstances, it creates stability from within. It becomes the internal compass that keeps you aligned even when everything around you is trying to pull you off course. When you operate from a place of calm, you begin to observe patterns within yourself. You notice what triggers your stress, what drains your energy, what pulls you away from your purpose. Awareness gives you choice, and choice gives you power. You can't control a challenge you don't understand. But once you recognize how it affects you, you can decide how to move forward without losing yourself. A calm mind also sharpens your ability to adapt. When you're not overwhelmed by panic or frustration, you can pivot faster. You can adjust your approach without taking it as a personal failure. You can shift perspectives, shift strategies, shift expectations. Challenges no longer feel like dead ends. They become invitations to evolve. Your adaptability becomes resilience, and your resilience becomes momentum. Most people don't lack capability, they lack emotional regulation. They know what to do, but stress blinds them. They have the talent, but anxiety blocks it. They have the potential, but fear paralyzes it. A calm mind removes those barriers. It allows your strengths to surface. It allows you to perform at your fullest capacity because you're no longer fighting your own thoughts. And what's even more powerful is that a calm mind helps you detach from the illusion of perfection. You stop waiting for everything to be just right before you take action. You stop obsessing over mistakes. You stop fearing judgment. Instead, you start focusing on progress. You start valuing effort. You start embracing the fact that growth is messy, uncertain, and sometimes uncomfortable. But with a calm mind, you don't see discomfort as a threat. You see it as a sign that you're expanding. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's built through repetition. It's strengthened through experience. Every time you choose calmness over chaos, you reinforce the identity of someone who is in control of themselves. And that identity becomes harder and harder to break. You stop getting thrown off track by minor setbacks. You stop reacting impulsively to things that don't align with your values. You stop feeling the need to defend yourself against every opinion, every criticism, every unexpected turn. Instead, you begin moving with intention. Your actions become deliberate, your words become thoughtful, your presence becomes meaningful, and people start to recognize that your calmness is not a weakness, it's authority. Not the authority that demands power, but the authority that earns respect, because nothing is more commanding than someone who can remain steady under pressure. And as you move through life with this internal steadiness, you begin to influence your environment, not the other way around. Stressful situations don't dictate your mood. Difficult people don't dictate your reactions. Unexpected changes don't dictate your direction. Your calm becomes the filter through which every challenge must pass, and because of that, challenges lose their ability to control you. You start making decisions from strength instead of fear. You start approaching problems with curiosity instead of frustration. You start seeing possibilities where others see limitations. You become a thinker when everyone else becomes a reactor. And that difference in mindset sets you apart in ways you can't imagine. A calm mind also elevates your patience. Not passive patience, but purposeful patience. The kind that allows you to keep going even when results take time. The kind that prevents you from quitting in moments of doubt. The kind that steadies you through the slow, quiet seasons where growth is happening beneath the surface. Patience becomes endurance, and endurance becomes long-term success. And as your calm mind strengthens, you begin to understand something that most people overlook. Life doesn't require perfection, but it does require presence. When you're calm, you're fully present. You hear more, you see more, you understand more, and because of that, you navigate life with a level of clarity that few ever take the time to develop. That clarity becomes your guide through uncertainty, your courage in adversity, your strength in struggle. It becomes the foundation that allows you to rise, to grow, to lead yourself with intention. and the challenges that once intimidated you become the very experiences that shape your greatness.